Well, hello and welcome back. Today is Wednesday and it is the 12th of February. There are only a few days left with this whole appropriations nonsense. I appreciate your patience as I've been trying to work through it just as much as you have potentially. And so where we're at today is we now are getting down to the final stretch. So this means that all of the appropriation committees have transitioned just a little bit. And what that means is instead of hearing so much from public officers and officials, now all of those appropriation committees are about hearings from other legislators, representatives or senators that are coming in and making these very, very large requests and sometimes meaningful requests, more appropriate in the $200,000 range for appropriation. And so with that being the case, here's where we stand. So look at it this way. This is what they're reporting. I don't know if these numbers are completely accurate, but it's what we can go on from government sources. So we know that the education fund wound up last year with approximately $641 million surplus. Probably debatable. Those are the numbers we'll go with. Out of that, we have $251 million as one-time and $390 million as ongoing. And so what that means is the current statistics, the legislative staff have said that they have approximately 207 requests totaling over $570 million for new spending in the state of Utah. Now, out of that, let's try to understand what exactly is all of that. Well, about $343 million of this would need to be funded by the general fund. And what they're anticipating is that new revenue is probably going to be somewhere between $30 to $100 million. And it will be next week on the 22nd that we'll actually firm those numbers up. So the proposal of what do we do with all of this surplus money? Well, we want half of the money, or pardon me, not the surplus. What are we going to do with this general fund money? The proposal is let's use about half of that money to go towards a pay increase for many of the state employees. So a great example of that, currently, if you go get a job working for CPS, Child Protective Services, you start out at $15 an hour as a caseworker. And that work has got to be some of the toughest work out there. We've talked about this in other films that the turnover there is, sometimes 2-3 years and they're gone, going to work for private industry, which is where they can command much better revenue and quite frankly build a revenue with CPS so that they are employable somewhere else. Surprise, surprise. So again, instead of addressing the proper role of government, we're just going to throw more money at the problem. So the rationale here is because the private industry is shooting up, what do? Well, let's make sure we chase that with government making sure that they offer a competitive wage. So they're proposing to bump the rate from $15 an hour all the way up to $20 an hour. Again, that's just one example of a slew of examples that I've been attending and privy to. The second thing is Medicaid. So half on pay increases, the other half is Medicaid, is what they're thinking currently. The trouble is that legislators continue to throw out these huge funding requests. And again, these are some of the things that I'm seeing and hearing where we have senators and representatives coming in and saying, yeah, I need $16 million. I need $20 million. That's where this enormous number that's being reported by the legislative staff of $570 million is coming from. Is it real? Well, when they ask the representative, when they ask the senator, you're requesting $20 million, could you take a little bit less? And the answer is, oh, yeah. Just give us whatever you can. So again, all we hear as a public is that there's no money, we need more money, etc., etc. The other thing I wanted to get into is the big elephant in the room, and that is education. So the proposal is for this year to give about a 4 to 4.5% increase, which would be about a $150 million increase going into what they call the WPU, or Weighted Pupil Unit. So this is how they distribute money. It just goes per pupil. You got 20 pupils. Do the math. Here's the money that you're going to get for that. Again, we are the lowest in the nation. We spend right around $4,000 WPU. The national average, that's right, is about $12,000. The other thing that is going on is where this is a presidential election year, 2020, that means more people than ever before are going to turn out. The other thing we have is we have a governor that has announced he's not running for re-election. So all the people that normally don't vote typically will get out to vote because this is a great big election. Well, what does that also mean? While the person's there checking what president, what governor they like or don't like, they're also going to be asked to vote for a lot of other things, especially representatives and senators, and do they continue to have their job? No better way to get your job and to make the public really love you than by giving, that's right, a tax break. So that's kind of the new thing that's up on the Hill. I've got a link down below. If you click on that, you'll see that there are 14 such bills related exclusively to income tax. I don't know if I agree with it, but the bill that has been getting the most traction, the most input, is Senator Fillmore's bill. And with this one, he is trying to propose some things called revenue triggers. And what this means is that if the growth rate of income tax exceeds the growth rate of the GDP, then the tax rate would or could be adjusted a little bit lower. So that's something. Will they throw it out as kind of a good-natured thing to say, hey, please forget about that whole tax increase we did. We really didn't mean it. We're listening. Have some money. Remains to be seen. We heard 18 bills in the House. Not too much going on there. Most things are just flying right through. We did have a little bit of contentious voting. We'll get into that another time if you'd be interested. Please, as always, comment, like the video. Let me know what you're thinking. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.